Hey, everybody. Hope you can hear me. Welcome to the Rooftops of America every other Sunday live stream for the tail end of January 2025. Hope everybody's doing all right tonight. Let's see. Pretzel, how are you this evening? I'm doing all right. Joining me tonight is this will tie in nicely with Terrible Ideas. This Hop Tropical IPA by Sierra Nevada. Dreaming of beaches and warmer summer days. And this beer really sort of sets that up. So, who else? Eric, yes, 3,000 subscribers, 3,020 now, I think. It's been quite the road. I feel like I need to acknowledge that in a video. It is still, I say it every time I talk about it, every one of those means a lot. I know I've talked that I don't think this channel will ever be like some gargantuan beast. But we're just trucking along. People keep finding it. People keep enjoying what they see. I probably could sell it better, but at the same time, I like what we got here. This is a niche community, and there are a lot of cool people here. So, Terrible Ideas. Congratulations on hitting the summit of St. Bartholomew. St. Bartholomew. Well done. Morne de Vite. Maybe. I don't know. We all know my struggles with pronunciation. And I took French for several years. I took French all the way through high school. I should be better with French names. It was a painful experience. Do tell. Archie, hey, congratulations on being here and Happy New Year to you too. I see you're planning to do Mount Whitney this year. That's awesome. And Pretzel, when you did the permit thing for Whitney, how many sets of dates did they allow you to make? I heard some videos say they gave you 10 slots. Is that right? That is correct. And I used all 10, and I booked multiple windows in those 10 slots. I basically used those 10 slots to book out 10 weeks. I was telling another high pointer who asked me about how to go Mount Whitney. And I literally said we had a window that was basically July 15th to almost the tail end of September. And we got lucky at the tail end of July. So it was, I've had other friends that have struck out for several years. So be flexible. Be flexible, Whitney. Be willing to adjust your dates. Don't get hung up on those particular dates, or try to get a permit. There's often chatter that sometimes it's easier just to pick up the permit from the ranger station because of people that don't make it. But if you're going to go that route, I'd probably encourage you to do it in the middle of the week. Then less traffic. So I plan to book for a group of 4. How would the initial? I want to say it's $15 a person, so I think it's $60. You'll pay $60. I think because we had a group of 4, and I think that's what I paid. I'd have to look at the fee, but I think it was $15 a person. And I don't think you pay until you get selected. You pay the initial cost to submit in the library, or the lottery, not library, good grief. But then you don't have to pay until, well, hello, I've been joined by a cat. She's here. So give her some attention too. If we are successful, we'll be the first state high point in 2 years since Delaware. Oh my goodness. Archie, I was with you at Delaware too. It's been a while. This fat chunk of kitty, her name is Shubbo, Shubbo. She is a sweet girl. and she likes, like all cats, attention on her terms. So, um, but she's joining us now for this live stream tonight, at least for the next couple of minutes, and then we'll see. Yeah, you spelled it correct. So, it's been quite the 2 weeks. A lot of big things came up. A lot of it's sort of crazy. Over the last 2 weeks, a lot of unexpected financial issues popped up, which has put a damper on some of my high pointing plans for this year. Um, hey, Ron, I'm glad you're here. And yes, Archie, she is super sweet. She is very social. She loves people. So she is quite gentle with other folks. So yes, yeah, the Birds are going to the Super Bowl. I have, like I said, no dog in this fight. The Birds beat my Packers a couple weeks ago, so there you go. Anyway, there will be enough festive cheer around here in Philadelphia with that. So yeah, a medical issue came up, a housing issue came up, and now all of a sudden I'm like, I'm wondering if I'm be able to do Mount Hood. I'm still hoping to hopefully get out to Kansas and film that in March, but even that's now upended. It was not what I expected. It's crazy how things can move pretty quick. So I have rescaled my plans, and I'm gonna try to get at least one Western Peak. Got to get one. So I'm thinking, if I can't figure out how to have enough disposable income for Hood in May, then it's going to be Bora in Idaho in August. Granted, if I can pull it off, also, but we'll see. Everything's up in the air right now. So, like I said, it's crazy how things can really adjust in 2 weeks. But I'm not going to let that put a damper on some of my other plans. I will just refocus and do other high pointing work. There are still areas in the east that need to be refilmed. I'd still really like to do the Black Mountain Crest Trail in North Carolina and refilm Mount Mitchell. I'd love to get a handle on Kentucky. I think I can tell a better story for Kentucky. No, I did not visit Badwater Basin when we went to Whitney. We didn't have time. We really thought about, when I wrote the original itinerary for it, my buddy Brett looked at it and he's like, "You are insane." And so no, we pretty much stayed focused right on Whitney that whole time. So did you go to DV at all? DV question mark. Oh, Death Valley. In July, our plan would be to fly into Vegas, drive across the desert, and hit Death Valley, then go to Whitney. Yeah, if you're not filming and you're not producing anything, you'll have a whole lot more freedom to do that stuff. It's a long 90 miles, though. I'll say that. From everything I've heard, not that I've experienced it yet, but it is a long drive. So very cool. I think I said when I did Whitney last year, I flew into San Diego because that's where Brett was. We drove out from San Diego to Lone Pine, and then stayed at the Portal 2 nights. Hit the trail. Hit the trail. Made it to trail camp. Stayed that night, abbreviated night. Alpine start the next day, and then actually drove back to San Diego after we finished the 16 miles. So it was crazy long. I think we got in at 1 a.m. back to San Diego. Um, so, but it was worth it because the next day I flew out late the next day, but I was able to sort of um, enjoy a brewery or two, chill out in my buddy's house and just relax. So, yeah, Telescope Peak, highest peak in Death Valley. It is. And when I do eventually do Badwater Basin, I'm going to do a sort of a comprehensive trek of it. I think it would be pretty cool, highlighting all that stuff. So, my plan depends on what your permits running. If it's before the convention, go to Death Valley. Nice. Convention, then boundary afterwards. That's ambitious, Pretzel. That's a good plan. I see, Archie. That's a good idea too. Hey, Bill. Glad you're here. Thanks for stopping in. David, glad you're here too. It's good to see you. So, needless to say, despite things getting wrench thrown into things, I always have a plan. So I will just put the backup plan in place. Still want to, like I said, still need to bag at least one new peak, ideally two. It is disappointing, but hey, when it rains, it pours. So, and it's actually, I'm trying to find another silver lining in it, spurred me on to really knuckle down on getting new content, new series out the door instead of just talking about them. Actually writing scripts, filling out production notes, making plans. Oh, nice. David, that's awesome. Really cool. I stood on the summit of Whitney and then on Badwater Basin on the same day, the highest of those. That's really cool, Stephen. I love it. And David, thank you very much. I appreciate the support. I'm curious on what design you got. If it was the compass one, that is one of my favorites. But actually, I hate to say it, they're all my favorites. I went and got a hoodie in every single design because, hey man, gotta wear that brand. So, other things in the last 2 weeks. One of the things I did find out before everything went sideways is Kansas is a whole lot longer than I thought. And I still think I have a pretty good storyline for that refilm, and the plan is definitely to go lowest to highest. Did I see your last message? When is after the convention? Yeah, cool. It's a good plan. It's an ambitious plan. So, like I said, trying to find silver linings despite things happening, and keep a positive spin on it, and keep putting out things that people hopefully enjoy. I also feel that, excuse me, it may be time to finish, get a handle on my remaining Midwest redos. Also, if push comes to shove, so trek all the way back up to the Boundary Waters and redo Eagle Mountain would be actually really fun. So I don't. Hopefully, I can handle all that. I think you can. So Mount Whitney is, if you're going the standard route, it's long, but the trail is not. It's not. It's don't take this the wrong way. The trail's not crazy aggressive. It's just long. You're constantly going up. Remember that it was originally cut for our four-legged friends for mules to take materials up to the top. So the grade on the Mount Whitney Trail is not terribly onerous. It's just long. So, I'm actually looking to do the Mountaineers route. If you are, I have no advice for the Mountaineers route. I can get some. My friend Brett, who's filmed Mount Whitney and other Western Peaks with me, he's done the Mountaineers route. He can, and I'm pretty sure there's folks here on this chat that have probably done it too. So I bet you anything, I'll put my money that Stephen Wagner has done the Mountaineers route and can probably provide some good beta on that. So, but it helped that we stayed that day and a half at the portal. It helped with the night at trail camp, but I think I could have done it in a day, but man, I would have been a wreck. Plan for Virginia, Missouri, Indiana, and Ohio this year. Any advice? I feel like for Virginia, I would recommend going across the Grayson Highlands. I think that's a really pretty area. Other folks have come from, I can't remember, Elk. Oh, I can't think of it, down the AT. But I haven't had the joy of going that route, but the 2 times I've summited Rogers have been across the Grayson Highlands, and I regret nothing by going that route. It's absolutely gorgeous. Massey Gap, indeed. Missouri is, if you're going to do Missouri, Comstock is nice, but go to Johnson Shut-ins, go to the Elephant Stones, Elephant Rocks. Plan to hit a few other things. If it has been raining for a few days, if it has been wet, then definitely take the hike from the Comstock Summit down to Minnesoc Falls. If it's dry as a bone, don't waste your time. You're just going to see a crazy rock formation. There will be no water flowing. Indiana, go to Fountain City. Check out Grand Central Station for the Underground Railroad, the Coffin House. Very cool. Cool little museum. And then Ohio, Bellefontaine is a pretty cool town. A lot of cool history around there. A couple caves in the area. There's a wildlife preserve relatively close that has some decent trails. Campbell itself, if the main gate is shut for some reason, the side gate is always open. Always open. It literally is, if you're looking at the main gate, off on the left, go down a bit and you'll see a little side gate in the fence. So, Stephen, nope, you haven't. Curses. But my climbing club, the Mazamas, does Mountaineer route. The Mazamas, man, that is the climbing club that the Wandering Telegrapher. Why can't I think of his name? The first guy that ever did at the time, 48 state high points. He was part of that club. So, yeah. So Puxatawny is a fun little town. Yes, it is. Very cool, Bill. That is cool. How many high points in total do you want to refilm? All the other ones that were under 10, 20 minutes. Pretty much. So out there that still need to be redone, Kentucky, North Carolina, Alabama has been redone. I just got to get it out the door. I might redo Georgia because the sound on that is terrible. I definitely will redo New Jersey because the sound on that was bad. That was right before I switched over to using wireless lav mics. I was still using the shotgun mic. Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, probably do Illinois in the winter, though. Speaking of which, I hope you guys have seen the winter photos of Britton Hill. They are worth, yeah, I think somebody posted them on the 50 States High Pointing group on Facebook. They're definitely worth checking out. If you ever wanted to figure out what a winter summit would look like in Florida, there you go. Missouri for sure, Arkansas, Louisiana, Iowa, basically the whole of the Great Plains and a lot of the Midwest. Anything that I did, particularly in the first go, like the first quote unquote season 1, season 2, even to the Dakotas, I want to redo all that. I feel like I have a much better handle on what I want to do. I know I can get better stories. I can tell better stories. So I still have a pretty, this is one of these things where, like, with the new stuff coming out soon, I have a clear vision on what it's going to be. I know what the timestamp's going to be. I know all the things I need to know before I even shoot a frame of footage. Whereas at Rooftops of America, I didn't have any of that. So there is rework. The good news is I love going to these places. So it isn't really an onerous thing to say, I need to go back to Magazine Mountain. I'm looking forward to going back to that park. It's a beautiful place. I'm looking forward to going back to Driscoll Mountain because I think these places are awesome. So, Pretzel, careful not to drive into any ditches for the Illinois Rio. Yeah. Okay, so I recently counted how many county high points I've done, not counting the state high points. Obviously, I've got 4: St. Louis City County, Pikes Peak, Mount Tamalpais, and Marion County. Nice. I've talked about county high pointing. I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. I also feel like I'm not going to get into that wild, wild west. Charles Mountain winter just sounds like a cool thing. It is. And the dates have been posted. The new owners are very much still in a welcoming mood and mode with high pointers. So you can find those dates. They've been posted on the 50 States High Pointing group on Facebook. I think they'll probably be on the High Pointers Club website as well. But it's President's Day weekend, not the Monday holiday though, just the Saturday and Sunday that weekend. And then the first full weekend of June, July, August, and September. So 10 days for Illinois. Yeah, thankfully all the redos are easy peaks. Imagine having to, there is one I've been debating going back and redoing. You could argue that it is an easy peak, but it is a lot. It's Albert. That would be, it's hard to believe that Colorado, I struggled to get to 25 minutes. I feel I could have done better. But that was really, oh yes. And actually, Bill, you're absolutely right. The new owners of Charles Mountain have created their own Facebook page. Check it out. So I'm too much of an introvert and roof follower for county high pointing. Andrew, I feel you. Not so much on the introvert, but the abiding by rules and laws. I struggle even to bend them sometimes. So I get where you're coming from. I was terrified that the new owners would close access to it completely. Well, fortunately, we are still in their good graces, but once again, it's a community effort. We have to continue putting our best foot forward, even when we welcome folks along for the ride, just encouraging them then to, stick by those times and abide by their rules. It's their land. So hopefully, we have good reputation as a community, and that speaks volumes for the privileges we get. At the same time, the graciousness of the Charles Mound owners also brings to light one of the big challenges. And I think I've talked about this before, but it bears repeating, that some of these places are still privately held. Indiana, in particular, the folks that own that, they're getting older. And, what the future holds for Hoosier Hill, that's up in the air. But I know there's conversations that are going on about that. But it's still something that should concern the community. Connecticut, another great example. The South Slope is privately owned. I can't remember who, but it is privately held land. So there's still a couple places out there that are at risk for access. Maybe not in that top left quadrant, that 1A quadrant, but still things that bear considering, things that bear a little bit of strategic planning as a group and organization. That how do we maintain access to these places? What has to happen? So, all right. Has anyone ever experienced a high pointing drought where you've gone months or even years without visiting a high point? Not necessarily. I mean, the closest I got was with the pandemic. The shirt with oh, nice. I love that. That was the first design I did. I like that one was yeah. I like how the colors played on that. Oh, sorry about your the run to Klingman's Dome in January. So it I was I think I wanted to follow up with you on that, and I was going to question if you would even be able to access the road up there, because I know they close, and I know that road gets closed in the winter months. Archie, to answer your question, the last high point I did in 2019 was New Jersey, and then we were in the drought. The pandemic kicked off, and I didn't do another until I think it was in 2021. So I lost a year. So don't feel terrible. It happens to the best of us. Fortunately, you're young. Your better days are ahead of you. So I don't think you'll feel the burden of time as much. Pretzel, for some high pointers, I've actually broke, so, but only when it's just a quick in and out. Nice. I didn't see that. I feel like I'm in a high pointing drought now. It's been over a year and a half since I've done a new one. But Ron, haven't you done a couple overseas ones? Still. Let's see. I like what it's done for Iowa's High Point, where the owners just gave that property to the state. A lot. Actually, I think it went to the county. I think that's another county-owned one. That's not a state property. That's county property. But yeah. Hasn't done it in 2020. Strike that as last of 2020 Catan. You add Gunbjorn to your high pointing itinerary if Greenland becomes a U.S. territory. Hey, if things like that happen, then yes. So we'll see how everything shakes. Eric Gilderson told me something cool. Some high points are worth more, like getting 1 or 2 hard points is equal to getting 5 or 10 easier high points. I might disagree with that. Any high point to me is worth it, because I try to wrap more than just the high point into it. So some of my favorite experiences haven't necessarily been on the high ones. So, but Gilbertson brings up a great point. This is a really incredibly subjective hobby. So it's the same thing my brother told my nephew about the U.S. Army. You get what you put into it. And the same goes true for high pointing. Same goes true for pretty much anything in life. You get what you put into it usually. So Um, Gearshaw's last video, he's doing a world record going to European countries. No high point swim in a long time. That's, man, to have a budget. Uh, I feel like high points are special places for us, regardless of if we've been there or not, no matter how high or low they are. True, I would agree with that sentiment. It is an interesting quirk, and to toss more into it, it's one of the reasons I like other extra little things like, oh, if you're going to do North Dakota, yeah, if you have time to traverse the state, go to the center of North America, go to the center of the entire United States, add that extra stuff into the mix. Because it's interesting. It's like why, the 45-90 point in Wisconsin is something I always recommend to folks when they go to Timms Hill, to go down near Poniatowski and stop in and see that spot, because it's just a cool, weird, little fun thing. So, no overseas ones. The Belgian one was actually closed during the winter. Fascinating. I didn't know that. We had plans to do Ben Nevis a couple of years ago, but the weather was terrible that day. Went to Magazine Mountain many years ago. Arkansas is beautiful. It is. Arkansas is so pretty. Black Mesa last summer, and it's beautiful too. Black Mesa, when I was there, all I could think of is, man, I could film westerns here all day long. Supposed to be Colorado next summer. That's a good one. Albert's fun. It's pretty, super pretty. So, supposed to do Mount Elbert next. Yep, I saw it. Okay. I believe Arthur Marshall was, the wandering telegrapher. Yep, and he was a member of Mazawas. His notes have been uploaded, and they're worth a read. They're fascinating. It's interesting to see his thoughts and comments on places and how he went about his business using rail. So, very cool. Andrew, that is a great memory. Total the solar eclipse on Mount Magazine. Very cool. I went to the 4550 on Wisconsin on your suggestion. Cool place, and I have a medallion to prove it. I got mine actually in the cabinet behind me, which is a good point. If you're going to Wisconsin to do Timms Hill and you stop at the 4590, I don't know if the new Chamber of Commerce building or the new visitor center in Wausau is open yet, but if it is, you can go get a coin and sign their book. If it isn't, you can send them a check in the mail and they will send it to you. I think if I do Colorado trip, I might do 2 weeks. I want to hit the high point, low point for each national park and the state high point for that one. You might want to consider hitting the low point in Colorado too, because it is the highest low point in the United States. I think Agrihan's going to be its own thing, Archie. I think it's going to be not a test run for Denali. In fact, Denali might actually be done before Agrihan gets done. It's 3,000 some feet. It's actually, God, I can't remember. It's significant. It's a significant bit of elevation. It's by the Arikee River, I believe. But yeah, so the test run for Agrihan is going to be Latta Mountain in American Samoa. So we'll see. I will say this: if we have to add Gunbjorn to the list, whew, man, we are going to be we're all going to be ramping up our expeditionary skills. So originally, my first thought on Gunbjorn was when I was looking at the high points of Scandinavia, and I was looking, and I came, I was like, all right, Norway, I can figure that out. Sweden, yep. Finland, yeah, it's included. Yes, I realize that culturally it's definitely its own thing, but it's lumped in with the Scandinavian nations. I'm like, all right, all those doable. Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, including the Baltic area, if you're going to do this sort of Scandinavia Baltic thing, doable. Gumbjorn is clearly a totally different monster than all the rest. So, like, yeah, Gumbjorn is just expensive. You have to charter a ski plane from Iceland. Um, Many use Rainier as test run finale. I plan on doing two things. Rainier, and I want to do the Mexican High Point by Veracruz, the volcano there, just to go further elevation because it's like 18,000 some feet. So anyway, we are at 9:06, and I think I might wrap this one just a little bit early. I'd love to figure out a way to do all the high points in the south to north line from Texas, New Mexico, up to North Dakota in a couple weeks this summer. Very possible, Bill. If you were just going to run the straight line, Texas, Oklahoma, well, Texas, if you do New Mexico too, so Texas and Guadalupe, or Guadalupe Peak and Wheeler, those are they're not even, I don't want to say they're tough. You're going to put in some effort. But after that, it's pretty much smooth sailing. It'll be a lot driving, ton of driving. But if you started at Guadalupe Peak, start in El Paso, go do Guadalupe Peak. It's a day hike. Head up to Wheeler. Wheeler's a day hike. You might want to camp out a night before, give yourself some time. Black Mesa, day hike. The hardest part about Black Mesa is it's in the middle of nowhere. But that is the same pretty much for Mount Sunflower, too. Like, that is a lonely drive from Black Mesa to Mount Sunflower because there ain't nothing. There ain't a whole lot out there. Once you get to Panorama Point, as you're going north, Kimball, Kimball's a decent-sized town. It does have hotels. And I shouldn't say, I'm being dismissive because Goodland on I-70 also is a place in Kansas you could stay. But Rapid City, of course, is the metropolis up in South Dakota. And Black Elk, also, day hike. Basically, take the super highway to the top of it. That is a well-traveled peak. Super pretty, though. And then White Butte, also day hike, but in the middle of nowhere. White Butte is in the middle of nowhere. But if you can go all the way to White Butte, do make sure you go to Theodore Roosevelt National Park and check out the Little Missouri Badlands. So, most high points are day hikes. Until you get to, technically you can make Kings a day hike if you want. You can make Whitney a day hike. If you're really fit, you could probably make a lot of them day hikes, but a majority of U.S. state high points, a big majority, are easier than just a day hike. So it's sort of remarkable how accessible many of these places are. So, does Mount Washington in North Carolina any Class 5 hikes to the top? I will defer to others who have hiked that mountain more extensively than I for an answer to that question. Hey, Jess, I'm glad you're here. I hope you're feeling better. And then let's see. Could Denali be made into a day hike? Honestly, I'll never do it as a day hike. I'm sure. I don't know. That is the FKT Denali's West Buttress route is 10 hours, so technically a day hike. Yeah, you got to be super fit. So speaking of Stephen, you just brought up a good point about the great one will always be called Denali. Um, I just want to draw attention. This will be the last thing I draw attention to before I go. I was on Lauren Toner's Highpointing podcast earlier this week on a panel discussion called What's in a Name? Talking about the names of high points. Along with me was Mihai, and I can't think of his last name. Starts with a G. It's a Romanian last name. He is a climber and geographer. Super smart guy. And then Patsy, the outdoor Patty, the outdoor pilgrim. Check out her site. Was also on that. She's a historian and high pointer. Super smart individual as well. So that High Point podcast is coming. If you haven't checked out Lauren Toner's stuff, I highly recommend her podcast series. A lot of cool people sharing their stories. And you might want to, if you like what you hear, reach out to her. She might want to sit down and talk to you as well. So we'll definitely be sharing the link once that gets available. Should be available in the next couple days. So, and it's funny, Bill, you bring up Klingman's Dome. We talk about Klingman's Dome, and we talk about a lot of why on names, about how people take possession of these places because of the memories formed. So, fascinating discussion. Highly recommend it when it comes out. I'll share the link. Check it out and check out her stuff. And with that, I'm going to draw this one to a close. Man, I want to say thank you so much for a robust chat. This was awesome. You guys rock. This went a whole lot faster than I thought it was going to. So, with that in mind, I will see you all in February in 2 weeks. Be safe out there. I appreciate you all. Cheers and good night.